lawmakers in Ohio, they do not like democracy. They want democracy gone. They would like it to die. Because these lawmakers, part of the House Criminal Justice Committee, they just voted to advance legislation in Ohio that would make it illegal for a citizen to record a police officer. So let me explain the background to this law. It is basically enhancing the obstruction of justice statute that is already on the books to include a new interpretation. What is this interpretation? Well, it basically says if a cop tells you, hey, stop doing the legal thing that you are currently doing. And if you continue to do the legal thing that you are doing and you are ignoring the order of the cop, well, that becomes obstruction because you have now mentally interfered with the police officer. This is one of the most insane rules proposed by the Ohio legislature. And believe me, they have proposed some insane things. This is House Bill 22, expanding the Ohio obstruction of justice laws by including failure to follow a lawful order from a police or diverting a law enforcement officer's attention. The bill sponsors said it will protect both police and the public from harm when police are attempting to clear crime scenes, make arrests, or maintain order. Now, you know that's a bunch of bunk. This is not a fringe proposal. This is not a far-right extremist group. This bill is being supported by the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association, the Buckeye Sheriff's Association, Ohio Highway Patrol, and the Fraternal Order of Police. A former chief, he testified in support of this bill. Former Columbus Police Chief Thomas Quinlan testified in support of the bill in March. Quinlan repeatedly talked about mentally interfering with an officer. Is it just me, or does it seem as if these guys become, I guess, I don't know, more petty by the minute? They are unable to do their jobs without being mentally interfered with. You know, I go to work every day. I come do this show Monday through Friday. There is mental interference happening all around me. There's mental interference happening around you. Does that mean somebody should go to jail for it? That's exactly what the Ohio legislatures are proposing. To break this down and so much more, I have my dear sister, Anna Kasparian, co-host, The Young Turks. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Richey.
Thank you, Anna, for being on the program. I have some video from a few years ago, and I want to show first the fact that Ohio police officers, they were already telling citizens, oh, it's illegal to record us, even though it perfectly is legal. They were already, I guess, prophesying that this law would come to pass.
Do you have a dash cam or a body cam?
My dash cam's not on, sir. Only when I initiate my light.
So I need your permission to videotape you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so she said, yeah, you need permission to videotape me. That was actually taken about 5 or 6 years ago. And residents have said, listen, we have a problem with cops telling us that it's illegal to record them. Anna?
Well, first, let me just start off by saying, you gave an example of you as someone who experiences all sorts of mental, disturbances throughout the day as you're trying to do your job, things that distract you from doing your job. But you are not a public servant. Police officers are, in fact, public servants. They're paid with taxpayer money coming from individuals in that community. And therefore, they are supposed to work on behalf of the individuals in that community. Essentially, the taxpayers are the boss. And we need to be a little more forceful in getting that message out, because I really think that local police departments have really gotten it twisted about who they really work for. They're not private security, they're public servants who are paid with our resources, which means that we should have full transparency of what they're doing, how they're doing it. If they are in a public space, engaging in policing, that a taxpayer might find a little problematic, they should have the right to record that with absolutely no consequences to follow. So I think what we're experiencing in this country, not only with policing, but in a number of different areas, is this expectation that American workers provide the resources for things, but don't actually get the benefit of the very things that they're funding. So in this case, it's just abundantly clear that policing has become out of control in many instances. They refuse to take any type of responsibility for the clear examples of excessive force and brutality that we've witnessed in video footage after video footage. They don't want to be held accountable. That's what this is really about. So while they might claim that the bill is really about one thing and won't in any way penalize citizens if they're recording, we know how this can easily devolve. The way that the legislation is written is intentionally vague, so it's really up for interpretation as soon as it's implemented.
And you make not only a great point, you make the ultimate point. The ultimate point is they are public servants and they work because we pay them to work for us, not against us, not contrary to us, but to work for us. Now, there was pushback obviously on the bill. Why is it that you do not have an amendment to the law that says this includes everything but recording? Or make the law or language specific enough so that we know if an individual records a cop, that will not and cannot be considered unlawful in the state of Ohio. They intentionally made sure, as you said, Anna, that the amendment or that provision would not be in the law so that it could be left up to interpretation. And here's the silliness of it all. They want to take your money and they want you to shut up and keep it moving. They want to use your resources, but they don't want you to have a say so. You see, that reminds me of a Chicago pimp. And they take your money, they don't want you to have one say so over what happens. It is time that taxpayers and tax dollars mandate accountability. I'm with you 100% on that. Okay, if this happens, if this law is passed, which by the way, Anna, it is a serious possibility. You know, state governments follow the lead of other state governments, especially in the conservative hemisphere. If this passes in Ohio, watch out, Georgia, watch out, Florida, watch out, Alabama, it's coming.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, we've noticed a similar trend when it comes to voter suppression bills. We've noticed a similar trend when it comes to literally censoring social studies and history in public schools in an effort to ban the teaching of critical race theory. I mean, it's just they copy one another. However, we should be willing to learn from how the right wing is so effective in this country. And they're effective because they fight. They fight through the court system. If this were something championed by the left wing and the right wing had a problem with it, they would take it all the way to the Supreme Court. And I would argue that Democrats, the left, they really need to wake up and get far more aggressive in pushing back against what we're seeing with the right wing in this country. Doing, social media activism is not really worthy of any type of praise, honestly, because it leads to nothing. It leads to no progress. This needs to be challenged in the courts because at the end of the day, police, again, work for us. They are paid by our resources. And if we're not able to hold them accountable by doing something as simple as filming them, if we think that they're engaged in problematic behavior or excessive force, then how can we argue that they're actually protecting and serving us if there's no transparency? And let me also add one other thing. It's already a crime to interfere in a police investigation or to obstruct a police investigation. The fact that they felt the need to put out this vague legislation makes it abundantly clear to me that the real agenda here is about further protecting the bad behavior of the cops and preventing citizens from holding them accountable or demanding transparency as they do their police work.
Democracy dies in the dark. 95% of Americans say we need police reform. 58% of Americans say that reform must be dramatic. Even 51% of Republicans agree that police reform is necessary. And then you have a state like Ohio being led by the far right in this legislation, but also supported by mainstream conservative organizations. And that becomes more problematic than we can imagine.